I'd like to thank you for putting the special town meeting in December at 7 o'clock instead of 7:30. My question is there going to be an article on the town warrant to change it from 7:30 to 7 o'clock, or should somebody put in a petition?
Anyone have a response? You would like that? You would like it to be at 7?
Definitely, because it does get us out a little bit earlier, and some of us get up at 5:30 in the morning to go to work, so I'd appreciate that.
Well, town clerk is probably the one that sets the time.
No, it's in the, there's an article in the bylaws that says it's 7:30 on the annual
Right,
town
there
meeting.
is. We'd have to change that.
You'd have to change it.
So it'd be a vote
Yes,
of town
Mary
meeting.
Beth.
Yes, so for the annual, for the special, we were allowed to do that, and we did that to try that out, and I think that most people really like that. They agree with you. And for the annual, we would have to have a bylaw change. And so at our last bylaw meeting, we did mention that we could work on that if that's what the
Oh,
board
okay.
would like us
Okay,
to do.
fine. So the bylaw committee is working on it.
We'll put that on our next agenda as well to move forward, and then it would be an article at the annual town meeting. We can,
Thank you, I
At
appreciate
at an
that.
annual town meeting that starts at 7:30?
yes,
Okay, so it'll be for the next.
Correct.
Right, you
We have
couldn't
to
do it
vote
until
Right.
26th.
that's correct.
Okay. Secondly, I want to thank you again for the select board. You and the assessors are the only people that have minutes on the website. Nobody else has minutes on the website. I spoke with the town clerk yesterday, and she says she doesn't have time to police it. And I'm just curious, who's responsible to make sure that it can get on the website, the minutes? We had an article a couple years ago saying that we had to be broadcast on the TV. It's very hard to follow the TV to try to find something. If I had the minutes on the website, I could go ahead, look at the minutes, and then maybe go into the video and listen to that short section. So I didn't know if that's something that, who's responsible for that? Is it IT to get people to do it? Or who's responsible for that?
Mary Beth?
Well, of course, the select board doesn't govern, a lot of the other elected boards, but that's certainly something that we could send out, and encourage people to do that.
Yeah, I would appreciate that.
We do that.
One question on that, if I may. At our last town meeting, there was an article saying that all meetings must be either recorded or to be put on YouTube. Cable system. So either we have, like we're having an open meeting now, or if they don't have cameras in there, they would, have a speaker and you could hear them. If you go on the YouTube website, you see some of them don't keep up with the, you look at it and you may see some in from September. What happened to October, November, and December, right? So maybe we ought to put an article on the annual town meetings giving a time when those meeting minutes or those recordings have to be given to the cable studio within 3 weeks, 2 weeks, whatever. It's just a matter of transferring it over to them. That way, if you're curious of what's going on, you can go on there and at least be up to date. Maybe a week later, but the point is, you're up to date.
I agree.
Yeah, it might be something to consider at our annual town meeting.
I just received a message, however, that there is no sound at our meeting right now.
Oh.
I'm just got a text that
glad.
said it was
What?
back. I just got a text that said it was back.
The sound is back?
I guess nobody wanted to listen to me.
But you're
We
looking-
did. That's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
But you're looking good anyway.
I want to thank you again.
Yeah.
At the December meeting, you did the licensing and I had mentioned that 250 Bedford Street needed to be cleaned up. I don't know if you did anything about it, but that piece of property has started to be cleaned up, so I appreciate that.
Great.
And one last thing, you're going to have a discussion on the budget tonight? Or an
Just
update?
a short update. Right.
Should I comment now or after the update?
Well, maybe your answer might be,
In the update?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
So having reached 7 o'clock, the public hearing with respect to application of Lone Wolf Partners Incorporated for a change of ownership interest, LLC members / LLP partners and trustees from John A. Perrette to Don Castagnetti, and a change of stock interest, new stockholders or transfer or issuance of stock by transferring 100 shares of stock from John A. Perrette to Don Castagnetti, to approve a change of officers/directors/LLC managers, and to approve a pledge of collateral, i.e. license and stock, subject to approval of the ABCC and receipt of the advertising fee. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there anyone who would like to speak on it? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Seems simple enough.
And it's reached 7:05, so our second meeting, which is kind of related, public hearing with respect to the application of Indian River Associates Incorporated, for, excuse me, for a change of ownership interest, LLC members/LLP partners, common trustees, from John A. Perrette to Joseph G. Perrette. A change of stock interest, new stockholders or transfer or issuance of stock by transferring 100 shares of stock from John A. Perrette to Joseph G. Perrette, to approve a change of officers/directors/LLC managers, and to approve a pledge of collateral, that is license or stock, subject to approval of the ABCC and receipt of the advertising fee. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.
Good luck.
Next item on the agenda is the chairman's report, and all I want to mention here is I want to give a shout out to one of our members, Justin, who informed me yesterday, was it? Yesterday,
yeah.
that he noticed what might be a dangerous product at one of our stores in town, a product called Kartom, Kartom. It's a mixture of unregulated chemicals that is kind of a stimulant, but it can also cause mental health issues. And I spoke to Dan Kelly about it after I heard from Justin, and Dan is right on it. At their next meeting, they're going to have a meeting about the possibility of having it removed from shelves, if there are any on shelves by that time in the town of Whitman. At their next meeting, the Board of Health's next meeting, I think, is the 13th. So I just want to give a shout out to both Justin and to Dan for being on this issue. With this is important. It's important for the health of our people.
Thanks.
Excellent.
New business. Act on the agreement for an inter-municipal primary fire department dispatch system between the town of Whitman and the town of Holbrook.
Need a motion?
Yes, Chief.
Just briefly, this is an agreement we enter into every 3 years. This is an intermunicipal agreement with the town of Holbrook to provide primary fire service dispatch for us. It's spelled out pretty well throughout Mary Beth and I went through this in great detail. We went through it, and really the only thing that changed from the previous ones that you've signed is the amount of we're paying to Holbrook. And if you look at it, and you look at it over the next 3 years, there's 3% increases included every year. That is all. All right, thank you.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is there a second? Are there any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Act on the request for toll booth fundraisers submitted by the following: Whitman Baseball Softball Association, April 12th, 2025, from 10 to 2. Rain date, April 5th of 25. We might as well do them all. American Legion, May 3rd, 2025, 9 to 10 to 1 p.m. Rain date 5/24/25. Knights of Columbus, October 13th, 2025, 9 to 4 p.m. Whitman Area Toy Drive, September 6th, 2025, 9 to 1 p.m. Is there a motion for to approve those?
Motion.
Second.
Are there any discussions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
The baseball one, rain date, they're going to hold it on the April 12th. Rain date is the 5th.
I had the same question.
Huh?
I had the same question. How do you know if it's going to rain a week later?
Yeah.
That is a good question.
It is a good question. I asked Lori about that today, and actually, they're going to just look out 10 days ahead. They wanted a date of the 19th, but that's the Easter weekend, and that's not allowed. So therefore, the requested date is the 12th. But if they see ahead of time that it looks like there'll be a problem for the...
Yeah, but April 5th is not an answer to that.
That's also.
They're just going to look out ahead for like the 5th, and they're going to do a 10-day, forecast before the 5th. And if it looks like the 12th is going to be okay, they're just going to have it on the 12th. If it looks for
Right.
some reason like 10 days out.
Okay,
it's
and so,
raining bad.
if it's raining on the 12th, what does the,
Well, they're going to look at,
what are they going to do? What
If
are they
they,
going to do on April 5th? It's a week earlier.
right. So if they don't choose 10, 12, 11 days ahead to call it on the 5th, then they're just going to go with the 12th. If it rains, then they wouldn't be able to have it. But I know that sounds odd, and I did,
It sounds very odd.
very odd. They wanted the 19th, but that, for their rain date.
Okay, so why don't we just cross out the rain date on 4/5/25, because that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Well, not unless,
They can come up with a rain date for us, we can amend it later on sometime. But that's stupid. They have a
It
rain
does
date.
read crazy. I know, it does read,
Yeah.
it does read.
I didn't be stupid.
can they forecast a week out?
Well, you can do a 10-day forecast. I mean, I know you can look out that far. And for some reason, if it seems like there's this terrible storm coming in, then they were going to have it
And
earlier.
right, and the 5th is nice and clear.
Right. It would be a last-minute call.
Yes, sir.
Does that interfere at all with the Whitman Day that Mr. Rosen is having on the 5th?
I was just looking at that. So I think the April 5th is a dinner at the
Later.
Holy Ghost. Yeah, so it shouldn't interfere there. But I do think that
Cardinal Spellman, correct?
yeah, but I do think that the Legion's Day might interfere with the talent show at Town Hall. I don't know what time that is. Hopefully the talent show's in the afternoon.
Were these moved? Is there a motion to accept these?
I'm not
Or are we
sure.
still dealing with what we do with 4/5? Rain date that's a week before the
They
date.
want to. I mean, if they want to call a rain date and decide that snap minute to hold it a week earlier, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
Oh, you know what? I just understood it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If the
It'll be a
5th is a
last-minute
clear
call.
day,
Yeah, I got it. Okay. Okay, has it been moved?
Yes.
Has it been seconded?
Second.
Any questions besides my question? And I shouldn't have used the word stupid because I was the one that was stupid. All those in favor?
Aye.
It's not that funny.
Yeah, it is. Love it.
Appoint Erica Adams as temporary assistant treasurer collector effective 12/16/24.
So moved.
second.
Yes. So I mentioned that because there is an executive session that relates to an MOA that ties to this appointment. So I would say yes, pending the executive session.
We're appointing her pending the executive session.
Correct.
That's been first and seconded?
Sure.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Hi.
Appoint Angela Chandler as consultant to the treasurer collector's office effective January 7th, 2025.
So
Is
moved.
there a motion?
Second.
Any discussion?
This is ARPA funded. This was the one of the final things we funded with ARPA money.
That is correct. We did set some money away aside from the opera funds so that Angela Chandler could stay on through June 30th, 2025, like one day a week, up to $20,000 total to help reconcile the cash and the receivables for the treasurer collector's office to get that where it needs to be.
Okay. All those in favor?
Hi.
Budget update, Sean.
Yeah, actually, I thought it should be a bit more of a quick discussion, or at least the start of a discussion. We don't have new details, we don't have like updated numbers from the presentation we gave at our last meeting, but I do think what we should discuss is given some direction about the type of override that we're really considering. The obvious being, should this be an override where department heads should consider new services or new, like an opportunity to add the things that they've been hoping to add over the last 5 years that we've been asking them to hold off on, so that when we put forth the override, there'll be not just level service, but some additional things as well? Or should we set the directive that the override that we're really looking to create is one where we're just trying to get by? That what we're looking for is not to add an additional financial burden onto the people of the town, given the climate with the new debt that's going to be added to the rolls. With that in mind, our intention is simply to get by and level service with this override. It's two different things, you know. And I think it's important that we do have the discussion so that the finance committee is going to have meetings, obviously, and they're having meetings with department heads now, and it is two different things, you know. If I'm a department head and I know that there's an override coming, it might be my opportunity to put in the things that I've been hoping to get over the last 5 years that I haven't been able to get.
Right.
Which is understandable. But from my opinion, I don't think that should be the case. I think if we're going to ask people to sacrifice for the town, it's very important that we demonstrate the sacrifices that we're making. I think that's going to be a critical component this year in particular. The people of the town think that we're just adding one more thing, and they feel like the taxes are going up that much more. That's a bad kind of vibe and a message that's difficult to stand behind. But if they can see that we're making every effort to get by in as efficient way possible without losing services, and we're asking them to, you know, to contribute a little bit more to hold on to the services that we currently have, not that we're adding new one, that to me feels like an acceptable message.
I couldn't agree with you more. You're right.
100%.
You're absolutely right. But it also should be clear that the override is not specifically dedicated to one department or another. It's an overall town override because we need some money to keep our services steady, if not exuberant. Yeah.
One other piece to it I think we should consider is the difference between a one-year override and a multi-year override. I'm kind of leaning toward just my own personal opinion that we should consider simply a one-year override. The major variable being the hold harmless situation that the school's in. We don't know that, and it's very difficult to predict out, which has a major impact on the town's finances. It could be that we're in hold harmless for a year or two and then we're not, or it could be the next 3 years, or it could be this year that we start to pull out of it. And we don't really have a clear understanding, not because we haven't been really trying to drill down, just because those numbers are so difficult from the state to compute in a proactive way. So it wouldn't be a great scenario if we looked for a 3-year override and we came out of hold harmless kind of early. That would mean, in a sense, we've asked for more money than we kind of needed, you know? And I don't think the town would appreciate that.
No.
You're right.
So it doesn't feel good to say, hey, we're asking for a smaller override, and it might be the case that in order to hold on to services next year, we'd also have to have an override. But it does feel like the right thing to do.
Take it a year at a time.
Take it a year at a time, where we have
my understanding is that the Finance Committee is looking for a joint meeting.
Correct. I did correspond with Kathleen Otina. She did view the last meeting and saw Sean's presentation, but she said they would be interested in having a joint meeting on the next select board meeting later this month.
Yeah, which is the 28th.
21st? I believe it's the 20th.
When is our next meeting?
I think it's the 21st.
21st?
13th and 21st.
21st? So we can discuss these things on the 21st too.
Sure.
With the Finance Committee.
Yeah.
7th and 21st.
21st, okay. And, okay, good. And it will be at that meeting that we discuss meeting times in February. But that's not on the agenda for tonight. Okay. Okay, anything else? Anyone have anything to
Yeah. On that, Sean, I'm thinking we really don't know what the department heads are looking for at this point, right? We're still waiting for numbers?
Most of the department heads have submitted their budgets, and now I'm scheduling meetings. I have one starting on Thursday to meet with the department heads individually, and I've already met with one as
So
well.
I would think we'd have to wait until what the final number is before we decide if in fact that override is necessary or how much of an override is necessary. I don't want to go for a $3 million override, we'll say, and all of a sudden the budget comes in $1 million more than we need, or do a $3 million budget override and the budget comes in lower, so department heads say, well, then I want to add this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think we can't really have the final numbers until we really get all that feedback. But the message that we send tonight, I think would be helpful for them to really submit their final budget. That, the override that we're hoping to present is one that we're just getting by with level service, not adding new things. Yeah.
Justin, and then,
And I think maybe we want to consider a multi-year override just because we are looking at, a 2030-ish pension obligation falling off the books. So that if we try to plan out 5 fiscal years, that would get us to that point when we should see more revenue staying in-house rather than going to the county to cover our pension obligations. So there's that. And also, we really need to be having this conversation with both the school district and with Hanson, because looking at a townwide override, including the schools, their budget only works if Hanson also funds it. And at the end of last year, it seemed like Hanson was getting ready to consider an override this year. So what are they thinking of 1 year? Are they thinking of multi-year? There should be some coordination here so that
That's true.
we're all on the same page. Otherwise, the district gets, a half-funded
Yeah.
override.
okay, and so we can delve into this a little bit more when we have our meeting on the 21st with the Finance Committee here.
I do think sooner is better than later, though. So
Yeah.
even given some direction about what we're going to discuss and why, I think that would be helpful to set the tone.
No, this is a helpful table setter today.
And I do think historically the governor's budget comes out around the MMA conference, so by the 28th-ish, the schools should have some indication of what they're getting for state aid.
Yes.
Select Board again. I want to thank Sean and Mary Beth in the office for doing a great job trying to get this budget going. I know it's a tough job, and I appreciate it. At least we're doing this now and not 1st of May. So I appreciate that. First of all, we're talking an override, and an override's going to be very tough for a lot of people in town. The neighborhood that I live in, we've had one bankruptcy this year. We've had one person that's moved out of town. They can't afford the taxes coming forward. We have 2 or 3 people that have reversed mortgages just so they can pay their bills and stuff. So if we're going to do an override, I want to make sure that the Board of Selectmen, the Finance Committee, everybody understands the hardship that this is going to go on. I had a gentleman stop me yesterday and say, I just got my tax bill and it's gone up. And I understand it's going to go up more and more and more. So I just want you to consider that when you do your deliberations. Secondly, last meeting, there was some discussion about South Shore VOTEC level funded. Well, we have a lot less students going there this year than we did last year. Our assessment should be a lot less. If they do a 5% increase on their total budget, and then we've got 15% less people, we shouldn't be a level funded budget. It should come down. And next thing is cannabis. Have we taken into account the potential of cannabis on Bedford Street opening? They're shooting for a May or June opening, so there may be some additional revenue there.
Thank you.
Answer some questions on South Shore VOTEC. The cost of educating at South Shore VOTEC has gone up, but because we have 17 less students, ours is not going up, it's staying even. And the reason that we have less students is because we don't have the room. I think something like 75, 85 students from Whitman, parents from Whitman wanted their kids to go. We could only allow like 20 of them in. So that brought ours down. So we have less students. That means that we're covering the increase in the cost of education by that fact that we have less students.
Okay, if it costs me $20,000 a student to go to South Shore, and I'm just using that as an example, and we have 20 less students, 20 times, that's $400,000. And if, for those students, if it only went up by 5%, that'd be like $150. So there's a numbers there. So we should see a decrease in the overall amount. It shouldn't be a level funded. And I understand that will come out when the South Shore does their budget. But South Shore also should take a look at their budget and understand that Whitman, Hanson, Rockland, we're all fighting budget issues. So they should try to tighten their budget, the same as we're asking Whitman Hanson to do.
Believe me, we do.
Okay.
If we needed something last year, you don't need it again this year. That's the superintendent's attitude. He goes over the budget with a magnifying glass.
I've been on a regional school committee, Voc Tech School Committee, and I understand the budget
Yeah.
process. And I'd like one clarification on this one-year override. When you do an override, it's a two and a half override. You've got two types. You got one for capital, and you got one that increases the baseline that you can charge. If you do a 2-year override, at the end of the 2 years, we've already got that bucket of money, and you know what's going to happen with that. We're not going to decrease. These good department heads are going to try to use everything they can. I appreciate it. That's their job. So if you're talking a 1 or 2 year override, it really isn't that. It's an override, period, because that money's always going to be there unless you cut back on the amount of taxes. And I've been involved with politics for a long time, and if there's money there, it's going to be spent. Thank you. I appreciate the time.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate you.
Next
Can I
item.
add one piece?
Sure.
As I've been talking to some people in town, and there is a common misconception. I think when people hear they hear the word deficit, they think at the federal level, like the federal government can operate with a deficit, they can borrow money and that kind of thing. I don't think most people realize actually that from the town's point of view, we have to balance our budget every year. The town can't, with some very small exceptions, we can't have a deficit that continues year from year. We can't borrow to run the operating budget. So I think it helps put into perspective a little bit about an override. We're not running a deficit right now. That's not what we're saying. We're predicting a little bit of a deficit. We balanced our books this past year. As we're making our projections and we have a little bit of a deficit, that's the gap that we have to keep our current services. But it's not that we've been borrowing all this money and we're upside down or something. You know what I mean? Each year, our books have to be balanced. In order to move forward, we make our projection about what our costs are going to be compared to what our revenue is. And then if there's that gap, that's the deficit that we're talking about. So it does get tricky with a 1-year override versus a multi-year override and how we compute that. And I think that's why the hold harmless does change things. But I do respect what Justin said as well. So it's definitely stuff to consider.
Anyone else? Thanks, Sean. Next item on the agenda is the town administrator's report.
Okay, thank you. So I have a few items. The first one is that Wendy Kavicki, the new town accountant, started yesterday. So therefore, we have John Adams as the interim town accountant. So he will be changing to a consultant for us. So I just received his information, his agreement, which I'll be sending to you, and I'd like to put this on the agenda for the next meeting so that we can appoint him as a consultant instead of the interim accountant. The next item that I wanted to mention is the temporary treasurer collector, Sharon Lopiccolo, provided information for the board to sign. It didn't need to go for a vote. For the sewer force main project, that was voted back in April 12th of 2022. And that was an interim loan, and as all interim loans do, they close to what's called a permanent loan with Mass Clean Water Trust. So the original loan was voted in the amount of $12,971,950. If you remember, we took $2.2 million and applied for the Plymouth County ARPA funds to put towards that sewer force main project, so we didn't have to borrow as much. Also, we had some loan forgiveness, and the project came in a little under budget. So the closing paperwork on the Mass Clean Water Trust for the sewer force main project has a bond date for February 6th of 2025, and the final amount that we will be bonding is $6,972,821. So I just wanted to let you know that.
So a significant decrease.
Decrease for a few reasons.
Yep.
The loan forgiveness, we took 2.2 from ARPA money, and it came in under budget. So some good news there. And then I have one other item for my report. I'd like to ask the Select Board to request a joint meeting with the Board of Assessors as soon as possible. For well over a year now, the Assistant Town Administrator Kathy Keefe and I have been extremely concerned about several billing issues which have been brought to our attention regarding the Assessor's Office. To avoid any confusion, it's worth noting that the Select Board does not govern the Board of Assessors. The Board of Assessors is a separately elected board that is comprised of 3 members. The Board of Assessors is solely responsible for the operations in the Assessor's Office. While the Select Board doesn't have authority over the Board of Assessors, I feel that we need to take this action to call for a joint meeting between the 2 boards to better discuss our ongoing concerns. Early last year, I spoke with the chairman of the Board of Assessors about several of my concerns. In August of 2024, I also met with another Board of Assessors member who is interested in hearing all our concerns. I presented and reviewed the issues that were brought to our attention up to that point in time. Rather than the Board of Assessors being receptive to our comments and concerns, they instead issued a letter dated August 29th, 2024, to the Select Board accusing both Kathy and me of harassment and interference. More importantly, to date, the Board of Assessors has not taken corrective actions on several of the billing issues that were revealed to them. The Board of Assessors made it abundantly clear at more than one of their meetings in open session last year that they did not want any interference from the Assistant Town Administrator or me. On October 24th, 2024, the Select Board sent a letter to the Board of Assessors informing them that after reviewing the information outlined in their letter to the Select Board, they determined that the Board of Assessors' allegations of harassment and interference were not supported. The Select Board also asked that Kathy and I continue to make the Board of Assessors aware of any future concerns regarding billing. The following examples illustrate a few of our recent concerns. On December 17th, 2024, the Board of Assessors signed the fiscal 2025 actual real estate warrant to collect, which is the document that gives the treasurer-collector the authority to collect the real estate payments for the town. The warrant to collect and the corresponding billing file initially sent to the temporary treasurer-collector Sharon Lopiccolo for the fiscal 25 third and fourth quarter actual real estate bills had an erroneous total, which was $16,124,289.21 greater than what should have been billed to taxpayers. Also, the fiscal 2025 real estate bill lien file that should have consisted of unpaid water, sewer, trash, and H2O bills from fiscal 2024, which are always added to the subsequent year's January real estate bill as liens, had an erroneous total, which was $750,508.24 less than what should have been billed to taxpayers. Luckily, the new temporary treasurer-collector realized there was an issue, and she reached out to me to review the warrants to collect before she posted the bills and sent them to the printer for printing and mailing to our taxpayers. Sharon notified the Board of Assessors of the erroneous files, and they were subsequently replaced with corrected real estate and lien files. These 2 recent billing issues are quite concerning. If the real estate bills had been sent out as originally billed, the taxpayers would have been billed for basically a total of 6 quarters instead of the usual 4 quarters in fiscal 2025. The current Board of Assessors has a total of approximately 21 years of combined experience as board members. The magnitude of these recent errors is alarming to the Assistant Town Administrator and me. This weekend, I was informed by our printing vendor about another fiscal 2025 actual real estate bill issue. The square footage on the fiscal 2025 actual real estate tax bills is incorrect. It has been confirmed that the file sent to the temporary treasurer collector for printing by the Board of Assessors contained a database error. Similarly, in December of '23, the warrants to collect for the fiscal '24 actual real estate bill liens, which totaled $926,534.32, were not voted or signed by the Board of Assessors until May 21st of 2024, which was 5 months after the billing file was sent to the treasurer collector by the Board of Assessors. As I stated previously, warrants to collect are required by the Department of Revenue to be issued by the Board of Assessors to the treasurer collector before payments can be accepted. In April of 2024, the Board of Assessors sent a warrant to collect to both the treasurer collector and the interim town accountant for 11 boat excise tax bills. However, the assessor's office never sent the corresponding billing file. Therefore, 2024 boat excise bills were never issued, and the revenue for this receivable was unable to be realized last fiscal year. After listening to the Board of Assessors meeting recording from November 19th, 2024, I verified with our software vendor that the 2024 boat excise billing was in fact never sent to the treasurer collector for billing. The file was deleted from the assessor's software module titled Add New Accounts and Omitted Bills on November 25th of 2024. I am hopeful that the Board of Assessors will commit the 2024 boat excise bills in 2025 so the revenue can be realized this fiscal year. An additional concern regarding the 2024 boat excise bills was the fact that only 11 bills were voted by the Board of Assessors. In the previous 5 years, the town billed approximately 53 bills each year. From the data the Assistant Town Administrator and I were able to review, we strongly feel that the file the Board of Assessors voted for the 2024 boat excise bills should have contained approximately 53 bills, as it has for the last several years, not just the 11 bills the Board of Assessors intended to commit. The assessments and the related billing produced by the Assessor's Office, which are under the control of the Board of Assessors, directly impact the revenue and therefore the town budget. I feel that it's imperative that the Select Board and the Board of Assessors meet in open session to discuss the numerous issues that have come to light regarding billing issues, as the enormity of the issues has escalated over the past year and a half.
Thank you. I think rather than getting into a discussion of something that we've just heard, it would make sense for us to move to have a joint meeting with the Board of Assessors. Does someone like to make a motion that we schedule a meeting?
Motion it.
And I'll second it.
Any discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, if you could inform the Board of Assessors that would like to have a joint meeting. Our next meeting is on January 21st. We're having a joint meeting with the Finance Committee. Doesn't make sense to do it then.
No.
At that meeting, we will figure out what our February dates are going to be. And so we could tell the Board of Assessors at that time, well, we have a couple of meetings open in February. Which one would you like?
Perfect.
And try to schedule it then, so we can schedule it in February. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, great. We need to go into executive session tonight for 2 reasons. That ends the open session. And they are executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining if an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body and the chair so declares. And this has to do with a memorandum of understanding for the temporary vacancy in the treasurer collector's office. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
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 And the second one, which we'll go into right after that, and then we'll adjourn right after that meeting is over. Executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, 21A7, to comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law or federal grant and aid requirements. And what we're doing there is reviewing and approving executive session minutes from 11:10:20, 12:1:20, 12:15:20, 12:29:20, and 1:5:21. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, we're in executive session. We'll come back in open session only to adjourn.